Father? Father? Oh! Mrs. Grant! Come quick! Help! Help! Help!
Greetings. My name is Bram Stoker. Many of you know me as the author of Dracula, but I have written other tales that send chills up the spine. This is one of my favourites, entitled The Jewel of the Seven Stars. It all begins one rainy night in London, but perhaps I had better let my hero tell the story in his own words.
The middle of the night. The knocking at my door threw up the gates of sleep, and my waking ears took in the cause of the disturbing sounds. The noise was too continuous, too insistent, too imperative to be ignored. At the thought of someone's need, I was, without premeditation, out of bed and on my way down to the front door. Instinctively, I looked at my watch. It was just 3 o'clock.
Begging your pardon, sir, I am sorry for disturbing you, but my orders was imperative. I was not to lose a moment. Mr. Malcolm Ross, the barrister.
I am Mr. Ross.
Then this here letter's for you, sir, and the carriage is for you too.
The letter was directed in a familiar hand, a woman's hand.
I know you would help me if I needed it. This time has come sooner than I expected. I am in dreadful trouble. An attempt has, I fear, been made to murder my father. Thank God he still lives, but he is quite unconscious. The doctor and police have been sent for, but there is no one here whom I can depend on. Come at once.
Margaret! In an instant we were off, racing across the city of London. We turned up the Kensington Palace Road and presently stopped opposite a truly fine house. Miss Trelawney met me in the hall.
I knew you would come.
Of course, but what's this all about?
It is about father. Please, come inside and let me introduce you to the gentleman from Scotland Yard. Mr. Malcolm Ross, this is Detective Dolan.
Good to see you again, Mr. Ross. Perhaps you remember I had the honour of working with you in the Brixton coining case.
Of course, Dolan. I remember very well.
Please, come inside. Warm yourself by the fire. Dr. Winchester is upstairs with father, so we can talk quietly until he joins us.
Certainly. And now you must tell me exactly what's happened.
It was all so strange. I was awakened by some sound coming from down the hall. I got up and softly stole to the door, for I really feared to disturb him. There was a queer kind of dragging sound and a slow, heavy breathing.
But what was it?
Oh, it was dreadful. I tried to open the door but found it locked. Now, why would father lock the door when it was only myself and the servants in the house? Anyway, I opened the door, and there was father, just as if his body had been thrown there all in a heap. And the blood.
Oh, Margaret.
My cries brought the servants. We lifted father to the sofa, and the housekeeper, Mrs. Grant, who seemed to have her wits about her more than any of us, bandaged the wound to stop the bleeding. I sent off one man for the doctor and another for the police, and then I sent for you.
Thank goodness for that. And you, detective, have examined his room, I take it?
He was in his pyjamas, the left sleeve torn, showing his bare arm, patched all over with blood and stretched out towards the safe.
The safe? But who did it? How did they get in here?
No idea about that. The windows were closed tight against the rain, and as Miss Trelawney has just told us, the door was locked.
And the wound? Do you have any idea what caused it?
Well, we're still not sure. Dr. Winchester said a deep wound, not clean cut as with a knife, but a jagged tear like from an animal, close to the wrist, cut into the vein.
Oh, how awful!
The doctor made a proper tourniquet for the poor man's arm and has been beside him ever since.
How very extraordinary.
And the bracelet that my father wears makes everything even more perplexing. We are unable to remove it from his wrist, and the doctor thinks he'd heal better with it taken off.
Bracelet? But why not just cut it off? if it will not unlock.
This is no ordinary bangle, sir. The gold is wrought over triple steel links. It is manifestly not meant to be removed lightly. No locksmith I know could do it.
And you say his arm was stretched out towards his safe?
Yes, on the far side of the room. They dragged his body. They tried to bring that key on his bracelet to the safe and unlock it.
But why? Any idea what the safe contains?
None at all. Father has always been very private about his affairs.
And the safe itself?
A very complicated device with some secret to the mechanism. Double security. A combination lock of 7 letters. And even that combination locked.
How very mysterious.
Oh, thank goodness. Here comes Dr. Winchester. May I introduce Mr. Ross?
Good evening, Doctor. I believe we met at Sir Owen's charity ball for St. Stephen's Hospital.
Quite right. Sorry to meet again under such circumstances.
But what can you tell us? Is the wound serious?
Serious, but not life-threatening. But I tell you, frankly, it's not the wound that concerns me. The professor remains in a kind of trance.
A state of shock.
I think not. There is no wound on the hand which would account for the patient's stupor. I must take it, therefore, that he is either drugged or under some hypnotic influence.
Hypnotised? But that's impossible.
No, not impossible, my dear, but difficult to account for, since we know the professor was alone.
Then what do you suspect, Doctor?
So far as I can judge, he has been drugged, but not by any drug familiar to me. You have certainly noticed the peculiar smells in his room, Egyptian scents, aromatic gums and spices and so forth.
I dare say. The smell almost overcame me when I first entered.
Yes, quite strong. It is certainly possible that somewhere in this room some substance may have inadvertently caused the effect we see.
An accident?
It is possible that the patient has intentionally taken some drug and then injured himself.
I think that unlikely, given the nature of the wound.
And if that were so, we should have found the instrument which cut the wrist. There would be signs of blood somewhere.
Exactly so. And so far, we have not found the weapon which injured the professor's wrist.
Perhaps you'll have some more success with the morning light. For now, I recommend letting the professor sleep. Perhaps the trance may prove transitory.
Is there anything we can do?
We shall want a nurse here as soon as possible to attend to the patient. I'll take care of arranging that. And his treatment, I must ask that till I return, someone will remain constantly with the patient.
Of course. Thank you for everything, Doctor.
Mr. Trelawney, might I have permission to look at your father's table and desk? Something there might give us a clue, or a lead, at all events.
Certainly. Do anything which may help us to discover what is wrong with Father now, or which may shield him in the future.
The detective began at once a systematic search of the room, and after that at the writing table. In one of the drawers he found a sealed letter. This he brought at once across the room and handed to Miss Trelawney.
Here we are. What is this?
A letter to me? From Father? Whatever can this mean?
How strange.
If it is not overly personal, I suggest you read it aloud.
Of course. My dear daughter, I want you to take this letter as an instruction, absolute and imperative, and admitting of no deviation whatever, in case anything unexpected should happen to me. If I should be suddenly and mysteriously stricken down, either by sickness, accident, or attack, you must follow these directions implicitly.
He seems to have anticipated this attack.
Yes, just so. Please go on, miss.
First, you must not under any circumstances remove me from my room. There I am never to be left alone, not for a single instant. From nightfall to sunrise, at least 2 persons must remain in the room, a man and a woman. That is, both masculine and feminine intelligences.
How extraordinary!
Next, nothing in my room, I speak of the curios, must be removed or displaced in any way. I have a special reason and purpose in the placing of each. Moving any of them would thwart my plans. Your loving father, Abel Trelawney.
My word, but I've never heard the like in all my years.
Neither have I, but whatever can it mean?
Dr. Winchester departed, and the other watched the patient for a few hours. By mid-morning, the doctor returned, accompanied by Sister Kennedy, the nurse.
And how is my father, Doctor?
Very little changed.
You thought he might revive from his unconsciousness?
I had hopes, but now I am truly and absolutely at my wit's end to find any cause for this stupor. There is no external injury to the brain, and his vital organs seem unimpaired.
Your earlier ideas about drugs or hypnosis.
I cannot find evidence of any known drug, and his unconsciousness does not resemble any of the many cases of hypnotic sleep which I saw in the Charcot Hospital in Paris.
And the wounds on his wrist, what do you make of them?
I don't know what to say. Have you any strange pets here in the house, such as a wild cat?
Oh no, father does not like animals about the house, unless they are dead and mummied, like those in his collection. Not even my poor Silvio, who is the best conducted cat in the world. There he is now.
And so he entered. Silvio was certainly a magnificent animal. A chinchilla grey Persian with long, silky hair. A really lordly animal with a haughty bearing despite his gentleness, and with great paws which spread out as he placed them on the ground.
And you know what is so special about my Silvio? Look here, carefully. He has 7 toes, see?
Whilst Miss Trelawney fondled him, Silvio suddenly gave a wriggle like an eel and slipped out of her arms. He ran across the room where stood the mummy of an animal and began to snarl.
It is most odd about that particular mummy. When Silvio first came into the room, he went on just the same way. He jumped up on the table and tried to scratch and bite the mummy. It made father so angry.
But I am puzzled why he is so keen against that mummy.
It is the mummy of a cat, not of a man or a woman.
It must have been a special favourite to have received so much honour. See, a painted case and obsidian eyes, just like a human mummy.
Amazing!
Yes, here is a dead cat, perhaps 4,000 or 5,000 years old, and another cat, from what is practically another world, seems ready to fly at it, just as if it would if it were not dead at all.
How much for these lambs?
Why, this one is from the Valley of the Kings. Very special indeed.
It's from the potter's stall down the road. I recognize the mark, you rogue. How much for the whole lot of these?
All of them.
Look, I'll give you this, not a penny more. And you can thank me for taking them off your hands.
May the gods give you fortune, Monsieur Corbet.
Dr. Winchester arranged it so that 2 could watch the patient while others rested. On the first shift, Malcolm found himself alone in the room with Sister Kennedy. The room had a fearsome quality and inspired strange thoughts. So many mummies and exotic objects. The strange Egyptian smell which clung to the walls, the curtains, even the furniture. One felt unconsciously taken back to strange lands and strange times. Thus it affected Malcolm.
As I kept watch, the Egyptian smell affected my nerves, my memory, my very will. If I was influenced in such a manner by the smell, might not the sick man who lived half his life in the atmosphere? Perhaps something in the air had taken over his system, permeated him and gained power over him. The dim light from the green-shaded lamp cast an emerald glow in the moonlight. I cannot remember being asleep or waking from it, but I saw a vision, or dreamed a dream, I scarcely know which. I found myself becoming lost in a reverie and entrancing thought. I sat, motionless in the room, seated in my chair, Sister Kennedy beside me with her back toward me. The sick man lay as still as the dead, all still and silent, and the stillness and silence seemed continuous and everlasting. Then came sound, a faint sound as of the mew of a cat, the rustle of drapery and a metallic clink as of metal faintly touching metal. I sat entranced. At last I felt as in a nightmare that this was sleep, and that in the passing of its portals all my will had gone. Then I heard it.
Oh, Father, what's happened?
Suddenly, all my senses were full awake, though when I opened my eyes I struggled to comprehend. The room, for all its darkness, seemed full of shadows. In my whirling thoughts, real things became shadows, shadows which moved. Margaret, beside her father's bed.
Dr. Winchester, hurry, come quickly. Is it the Professor?
Oh, it is awful.
The mummy smell, I must have dozed off.
Father, poor Father.
I struggled to come to my senses, still dazed from the hallucination caused by the mummy's exhalations. I stood up awkwardly, and it took a moment to focus.
His arm, it's bleeding.
Professor Trelawney lay sprawled across his bed, his bloody wrist stretched out, in almost exactly the same position in which he had been found on the previous night, with his arm reaching out towards the safe.
And Sister Kennedy.
By the empty bed sat Sister Kennedy, bolt upright, her neck fixed as if in a cataleptic trance. She was, to all intents and purposes, turned into stone.
Nurse, are you all right?
What has happened?
Oh, Doctor, look at her, just look at her.
The nurse sat frozen with no expression on her face. No fear, no horror, nothing. Her open eyes showed neither wonder nor interest. Warm, breathing, placid, but absolutely unconscious of the world around her. Hers was simply a negative existence. As Dr. Winchester examined his patients, Malcolm Ross left the house and soon found a chemist's shop. Convinced that the mummy's smells had affected them all, he purchased several respirators. He had no idea what gas emanated from the mummy, but these could help the watchers from inhaling the contaminated air. When Malcolm returned, Margaret and Detective Dolan waited by the living room fire for word from the doctor about the Professor.
Sorry if I have kept you waiting. I thought these respirators would serve us well when keeping watch.
Good thinking.
We're just waiting for the doctor, who has some thoughts to share. Here he comes now.
Hello, everyone. Miss Trelawney.
Hello, Doctor. What have you learned?
Much and nothing, I fear. Sister Kennedy's sleep-like condition resembles that of your father. I believe whatever caused it likely worked the same way in both cases. Kennedy is already improving because I could remove her from the vicinity of those mummies. The medicine and fresh air are already helping.
And Father?
Much the same, I'm sorry to report.
Your father's mysterious letter, of course, prevents us from moving him.
That is correct, and unless we can remove him from breathing the vile stench of those mummies, I fear I can do little to bring him out of that trance.
But must they obey the Professor's letter? Anxious to remove him from the mummy room, filled as it was with noxious gases, Margaret and Malcolm decided to visit the Professor's solicitor, Mr. Marvin. There they might find some way to ignore the dictates of this mysterious letter. After all, the health and perhaps even the sanity of the Professor seemed at stake. The lawyer, however, though most sorry to hear of Mr. Trelawney's illness, insisted that he could do nothing. The Professor's instructions were clear and unyielding, said the solicitor. Imperative, quite imperative. He leaves no loophole, I assure you. I have seldom seen a more ironclad document. Distraught, Margaret and Malcolm returned to the Professor's house, only to face another complication. The head housekeeper, Mrs. Grant, met them anxiously at the door. The servants, all but two, had given notice and left the house. As Mrs. Grant explained, they got some notion in our silly heads saying how they were sorry, but that they could not work in an house that was haunted. That evening, Detective Dolan called Malcolm Ross into the study for a confidential discussion.
Of course, you know that I have a duty to do, and I will do it. I am a detective sworn to find out the facts of the case, without fear or favour to anyone. I now hope to speak to you in confidence, if I may.
Of course, of course. Be quite frank with me.
Thank you, sir. I've gone over this case till my brain begins to reel, but I can find any ordinary solution to it, but one. At the time of each attempt, no one has seemingly come into the house, and certainly no one has got out. The inference?
That somebody or something was in the house already.
That's just what I think. Very well. Who can be that someone?
Someone or something was what I said.
Well, let's make it someone, Mr. Ross. That cat, Silvio, though he might have scratched or bitten, never pulled the old gentleman out of bed and tried to get the bangle with the key off his arm. Such things are all very well in books, where your amateur detectives, who know everything before it's done, can fit them into their theories. But in Scotland Yard, where the men are not all idiots either, we generally find that when crime is done, it is people and not things who are at the bottom of it.
Then make it people by all means, Detective.
Quite right. Did it ever strike you, sir, that during each of the 3 attacks, one person was the first to give the alarm?
Let me see. Miss Trelawney, I believe, gave the alarm on the first occasion. I was present myself, if fast asleep, on the second, and so was Sister Kennedy. On that occasion, Miss Trelawney also arrived before you did.
That is correct. She was present, or first, in the room on all occasions.
I see.
You understand where all this leads?
Surely you do not suspect.
I have not said that. I am more in a way of thinking out loud, if you take my meaning.
It is deucedly confounding.
Am I disturbing anything?
Certainly not, Margaret.
If you are both free, Dr. Winchester has come. He seems anxious to speak with all of us, together.
They all entered the sitting room, the gentleman easing the tension with port and cigars.
I want to have a talk with you about the professor. The case is enough to try the sanity of us all. The more I think of it, the madder I seem to get. And my 2 lines of thought pull in opposite directions.
2 lines?
Fact and fancy.
Fancy? Oh, Doctor.
I let you be the judge. Let's start with the facts. We have a man in his home with plenty of servants in the house, which precludes an attack from the servants' hall. His daughter is sleeping in the very next room to his. Door and window are shut, so no reasonable opportunity for any outsider to attack him. And yet, an attack does take place.
And the attacker disappears, leaving no sign of their escape.
Correct! The next night, a similar attempt is made when the house is full of wakeful people. The result? The professor is again injured, and the nurse thrown into a catalepsy.
The facts are bitter indeed. My poor father.
The more I think about this, the more I am bewildered. It is not easy to put anyone into a catalepsy. Indeed, so far as I know, no one can do so at will.
And I myself fell into a sort of daze.
Precisely! Which brings me to my main point. You, Miss Trelawney, are not subject to the mummy's influence. You go through unscathed, as it were. It is most strange.
That is true, Doctor. I cannot explain that myself. If exposure to the mummy had given me some immunity, then certainly my father's greater exposure would have protected him, which it most assuredly has not.
Quite right. Yet it seems you are in some other way inured to it.
What then is your other line of thinking?
The other line, that there is some influence at work not yet classified in any book that I know, outside the pages of romance. I never felt in my life so strongly the truth of Hamlet's words. There are more things in heaven and earth than are dreamt of in your philosophy. If we follow this line, we must have science and experience behind us.
Are we not perhaps going a bit too far, Doctor?
Who can say? The Egyptian priests, the learned men and scientists of their time, found by the experience of centuries means to arrest the natural forces of decay. There may be powerful agencies at work, possibly some rare substance whose powers are not yet understood in this latter and more prosaic age.
Powers? Now, really, Doctor?
If only we could move Father to another room. Fresh air and even sunshine might bring him round.
I agree, but his instructions to you and the care with which he had protected his wishes through his solicitor make it seem as if he expected something to happen.
Well, Doctor, do you suspect anyone?
Suspect anyone? Anything, you mean?
And this room over the courtyard, very high up, as you asked for, sir. You won't be overlooked here.
This will do excellently well. How much for the week?
Well, for a room like this would be 7 shillings a night, and hot water brought to you in the morning.
Done. I'll take it. There is a key to the door.
Why, certainly there is, sir. Though you'll not need it. We keep a quiet house here, very civil.
Of course you do. But I am a rough old traveller who has been abroad in, well, different places where a solitary man's life is not held in great regard. So I like to feel safe at night.
Oh, I get your meaning, sir. The key hangs on a nail on the door this side, sir, and a good stout lock it is too. Wishing you a good night's rest, sir.
It is the only room at the top. No transom over the door. All is tight and neat. We will all be safe here.
Later that night, the watch over the stricken Professor Trelawney continues. For the moment, all remains quiet.
Well, he is breathing like a child. His colour is good, surprisingly good.
And Miss Trelawney?
The nurse said she is sleeping now. Mrs. Grant is watching while she rests.
All night the patient remained in his trance. He looked healthy, but he never stirred. Only for his breathing he might have been of marble. Winchester and Ross wore their respirators, and irksome they were in that intolerably hot night.
What was that?
What was that?
I could have sworn I heard something.
Only the second nurse coming in watch.
The heat is intolerable.
Try breathing slowly.
What in thunder is that?
Sounded like somebody else in need of fresh air, I should imagine.
With the coming of the dawn, however, all noise ceased, and the whole household seemed to rest. Dr. Winchester went home, and Sister Doris came to relieve Mrs. Grant. He was perhaps a little disappointed. Nothing of an exceptional nature had happened during his night-long vigil.
Good morning, Mr. Ross.
Miss Trelawney, I am delighted to see you so much refreshed.
Indeed, I feel like a new woman. But how is Father?
Slept like a baby. The doctor was impressed by how well he looks.
You should rest yourself. I'm here now to watch over Father.
Ross could not but be moved by the loving touches as she fixed her father's pillows and brushed the hair from his forehead. He was wearied out himself with his long spell of watching. With Margaret on guard, he started off to bed, blinking his tired eyes in the full light and feeling the weariness of his sleepless night on him all at once. He had a good sleep, and after lunch was about to start out for Jermyn Street when...
Is Mr. Trelawney home?
I'm sorry, sir, but Mr. Trelawney is not available, sir.
But he is in?
Yes, but I'm afraid he's not awake, sir. I'm very sorry.
That's all very well, but I tell you I must see Mr. Trelawney. I came here at 9. You said then that he was not up and could not be disturbed. I came at 12, and you told me again he was not up. Now, I come again at 3, and you tell me he's still in bed, and he's not awake yet.
As I said, sir.
Where is Miss Trelawney? She is occupied and must not be disturbed. Well, she must be disturbed. I am here for Mr. Trelawney's special business.
I am very sorry, sir, if in doing my duty I have given any offence, but I have my orders and I must obey them.
My good fellow, I have no fault to find with you personally, but time is pressing. There is not an hour, not a minute to lose! Is there no one with any sense in the house?
Morris, you had better tell Miss Trelawney that this gentleman wants to see her particularly.
Very good, sir.
Come, let me show you to the boudoir. I am a friend of Miss Trelawney's. My name is Ross.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ross, for your kindness. My name is Corbeck. I would give you my card, but they don't use cards where I've come from. And if I had had any, I suppose they too would have gone last night.
Miss Trelawney, this is Mr. Corbeck, a colleague of your father's. I took the liberty.
Thank you, Mr. Ross. My deepest apologies, Mr. Corbeck. Of course, had my father been well, you would not have been kept waiting. Only for 3 days he has not waked, and I am in terrible trouble about him. I don't even know who you are, or in what way your business is associated with him.
My name is Eugène Corbeck. I am a Master of Art and Doctor of Law and Master of Surgery of Cambridge, Doctor of Letters at Oxford. I have degrees in Science, Philosophy and Languages from London, Berlin and Paris. So, as you see, I am sufficiently feathered with diplomas to fly into even a sick room.
Even so.
Early in life I went out tomb hunting, and have been several times out on expeditions in Egypt for your father. Your father, Mr. Trelawney, has a rare knowledge. He sometimes makes up his mind that he wants to find a particular thing, and he will follow it all over the world till he gets it. I've been on just such a chase now. My apologies, but I am not at liberty to mention anything on my mission. Such matters are in confidence between Mr. Trelawney and myself. I am pledged to absolute secrecy. You are sure, Miss Trelawney, your father is not well enough to see me today?
Come and see for yourself.
Mr. Corbeck entered the sick room, although he knew it. Even in his anxiety to see his friend, he glanced for a moment around the room as at a familiar place. Then he fixed all his attention on the bed. Ross watched him narrowly, thinking that somehow this man held the answers to the strange situation they found themselves in. There was a look of infinite pity on Mr. Corbeck's sun-stained, rugged face as he gazed at his friend lying so helpless. His face grew stern, and there came a grim, horrid look which boded ill for whoever had caused this mighty downfall.
Tell me all about it. How it began and when.
The first I knew of it was when I went to Father's room late the other night. I knocked on the door.
Margaret told Corbeck all she knew, but at the end she informed him of Mr. Morven's visit and of the power of attorney. The archaeologist's look began to brighten.
Good. Now I know where my duty lies.
What do you mean?
Trelawney knows what he's doing. He did not guard himself to no purpose. Doubtless he expected this too.
Do you know what he expected? Or from what source?
No, I know nothing of either. I can guess.
Guess what?
Believe me, I would do anything I honestly could to relieve your anxiety, but in this, I have a higher duty.
What duty?
Silence.
What was the urgent subject on which you wanted to see me, knowing that my father was not available?
My God! I quite forgot! What a loss! Now of all times, just at the moment of success! He's lying here helpless, and my tongue tied, not able to raise hand or foot in my ignorance of his wishes.
What is it? Oh, do tell us. I am so anxious about my dear father. Is it any new trouble?
I cannot, may not tell you anything. It is his secret, and yet And yet I came here for his advice, his counsel, his assistance, and he lies there, helpless. And time is flying by us. It may soon be too late.
What is it? Oh, say something! This anxiety and horror and mystery are killing me.
I may not tell you details, but I have had a great loss. My mission for your father, in which I have spent 3 years, was successful. I discovered all that I sought and brought them home with me safely. Treasures, priceless in themselves, but doubly precious to your father. I arrived in London only last night, and when I woke this morning, my precious charge was stolen.
Stolen?
Not a soul in London knew that I was arriving, nor what I brought with me. My room had but one door, and that I locked and bolted. The room was 5 stories up in the house, too high to enter by the window, which I had in any case locked. This morning the lock was untouched, and yet my portmanteau was empty. The lamps were gone. There, it is out now.
Gone? What lamps?
I went to Egypt to search for a set of antique lamps which Mr. Trelawney wished to trace. With incredible labour and through many dangers, I followed them. I brought them safe home, and now...
We must act at once. My father's wishes must be carried out if it is at all possible. Mr. Ross, you are a lawyer. We have actually in the house a man whom you consider one of the best detectives in London. Surely we can do something.
Good! You are your father's daughter!
I shall send for Sergeant Dolan.
Secrecy is everything. The one thing I dread is that the lamps, or some of them, may be destroyed.
They will not be destroyed. Not any of them.
How on earth do you know?
I don't know how I know it. But know it I do. I feel it all through me, as though it were a conviction which has been with me all my life.
A short while later found them all gathered in the professor's study. Sergeant Dolan at first made some demur, but finally agreed to advise privately, and advise only, for if action were required he might have to refer the matter to headquarters.
Pot or scale? That is the question.
What does that mean?
An old thieves' phrase from Birmingham, meaning, was it to be melted or weighed? A first-class crook will know whether something's worth more as an object itself, an antique, say, that they could place later on in America or France, perhaps. Or is it valuable just for the gold it contains? Would anyone, the British Museum, for instance, a dealer or collector, know the value, the artistic value of the lamps?
Certainly. Anyone with a head on his shoulders would see at a glance that the things were valuable.
Then there is a chance. If your door was locked and the window shut, the goods were not stolen by a chambermaid or a boot boy coming along. Whoever did the job went after its special, and he ain't going to part with his swag without his price.
But what do we do?
We must send notice to the pawnbrokers. There's one good thing about this, anyhow. We needn't tell Scotland Yard. If you wish to keep the thing dark, as you told me at the first, that is our chance.
I suppose you could not hazard a suggestion as to how the robbery was effected?
In a very simple way, I have no doubt, sir. That's how all these mysterious crimes turn out in the long run.
Look here, my good friend. There is not anything simple about this case. The window was closed, the fireplace was bricked up. There is only one door to the room, and that I locked and bolted. I never left my room in the night. If you can rig up any kind of simple robbery out of these facts, you are a clever man. Clever enough to go right away and get my things back.
Do not distress yourself unnecessarily. I am sure they will turn up.
May I ask, miss, on what you base that opinion?
I cannot tell you how I know, but I am sure of it.
After Detective Dolan and Mr. Corbeck left, Miss Trelawney and Ross spent most of the day looking over the Professor's curio treasures. The house seemed to be a veritable storehouse of marvels and antique art. The great hall, the staircase landings a study, and the boudoir were full of antique pieces which would have made a collector's mouth water.
You will hardly believe that until Father has been ill, I had no curiosity about his collection. But now it grows and grows on me to quite an absorbing degree. If you will let me examine them with you, it will be delightful.
Shall we start in the hall? I noticed something curious. That piece of steelwork, it looks like a large frame of sorts.
Oh, that? Father uses it for lifting the lids of the sarcophagi. It is easy to use. Let me show you.
They examined an endless series of hieroglyphic pictures. In spite of her profession of ignorance, Margaret knew a good deal about them. The most interesting of the sarcophagi were undoubtedly the three in Mr. Trelawney's room. Of these, two were dark stone, wrought with some hieroglyphs, but the third was strikingly different.
What is it made of? It looks like onyx and thousands of those tiny hieroglyphs.
Yes, simply covered in them, and almost 9 feet in length.
Truly, this must have been made for a giant.
Or for a giantess.
And it is different from the shape of the others. See how the space is raised, and it looks vaguely like a human figure. Can you explain that in any way?
Father never wished to speak about this. It attracted my attention from the first, but when I asked him about it, he said, "I shall tell you all about it some day, little girl, if I live, but not yet." His manner of talking rather frightened me. I never ventured to ask him again.
Somehow this thrilled Ross. He could not exactly say how or why, but it seemed like a gleam of light at last. There were 2 clues here. First, Trelawney's words, "if I live," and second, that he had some purpose in connection with this sarcophagus, which he would not disclose to anyone until his preparations were complete. But what?
And these tables here?
Close beside the sarcophagus was a low table of green stone with red veins in it, like bloodstone. The feet fashioned like paws of a jackal, and round each leg was twined a full-throated snake, wrought exquisitely in pure gold. On it rested a strange and very beautiful casket of stone.
What a strange shape. It looks like a small coffin, only pointed at the top. And I've never seen such a stone as this before. It looks like emerald green, but without the gleam.
It was not by any means dull, however the surface almost that of a jewel, quite unlike anything Ross had ever seen. It was nearly covered in fine hieroglyphics, exquisitely done and coloured with the same blue-green pigment as appeared on the sarcophagus.
What are these holes here?
Where?
Why, here, along the edges, and covered with more hieroglyphs. Shall I open it?
Yes, try.
It won't budge. It fits so snug. It's like one single piece hollowed out from within. Now, what about that?
On the other side of the great sarcophagus stood another small table of alabaster, exquisitely chased with symbolic figures of gods and the signs of the zodiac. On this table stood a square case of rock crystal engraved with hieroglyphics and coloured blue-green, like the figures on the sarcophagus and the coffer.
Open it.
Good heavens!
Within, on a cushion of gold cloth, rested a mummy's hand of startling perfection. A woman's hand, fine and long, with slim, tapering fingers and nearly as perfect as when it was embalmed thousands of years before. The great peculiarity was that it had 7 fingers, 2 middle and 2 index fingers. The upper end of the wrist was jagged, although broken off, and stained with a red-brown stain. On the cushion near the hand lay a small emerald scarab.
That is another of Father's mysteries. When I asked him about it, he said that it was perhaps the most valuable thing he had, except one. When I asked him what that one was, he refused to tell me, and forbade me to ask anything concerning it. "I will tell you," he said, "all about it too, in good time, if I live."
Again, if I live.
Yes, The sarcophagus.
The coffer.
And the hand.
A trilogy of mystery indeed.
Malcolm and Margaret shared a concerned glance, then continued to explore the collection. In time, they found themselves in the boudoir.
Miss Trelawney, why is the furniture here so different from the other rooms of the house?
When I first came here last year, Father thought, and rightly enough, that I might get frightened with so many records of death and the tombs everywhere, so he had this room furnished especially for me.
There is nothing Egyptian in these rooms at all, then?
No, that cabinet belonged to the great Napoleon.
How lovely. May I look at it?
Of course.
Hello. There is something in here.
Open it by all means.
Look! Lamps! Ancient Egyptian lamps.
Could they be Mr. Corbeck's missing lamps?
Rejoice with me, my dear Miss Trelawney. My luggage has come and all my things are intact, except the lamps. The lamps were worth all the rest 1,000 times. But what's this? My lamps. My lamps! Then they are safe. 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 But how, in the name of God, of all the gods, did they come here?
How indeed?
That was part one of Bram Stoker's Jewel of the Seven Stars, adapted for audio by Arnold Anthony Schmidt and Julia Warren, with Lucy Archer Woodstock as Margaret Trelawney, Jonathan Brandt as Corbeck, Michael Cogan as Abel Trelawney, Gregory Dwyer as Malcolm Ross, Jason Greenwood as Bram Stoker, John Martin as Inspector Dolan, Carter Nisbet as Dr. Winchester. Other parts were performed by members of the cast. Original music composed and performed by Riverhawk. But Jesus, that was great fun, wasn't it?